Well, this is unusual to see Brian Galke on my show, Inner Edison, and then because I've had Kasim on the show before. He's part of the. I didn't know you're part of the thug life there, though. That's unusual,
bro. No, I mean, like this is what
there you go. I was gonna say, where are the gang signs?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is I normally had you for Inner Edison. I thought I would do a crossover with our ACES53, and I thought it would be a good thing because Brian and I have been wanting to get you on ACES53, and it just came up this week that we were really talking about VAs, and I know you have that company, and if you wouldn't mind talking a little about that today while we're talking, and
if talk about the thing that I like to sell, Ed, are you asking me to pitch? Because I'd be happy to. That's what I'm here for.
Is that what you're here for? Nuts.
Yeah, I'm joking. To our listeners, I promise this isn't a pitch fest. I'm going to provide epic value.
No, I usually let Brian, he pitches all the people he brings.
Yeah.
Right. That's because people like me, Ed.
People love you. Brian's very likable, though. I watched your live with Christine Marie. That was great.
It was fun. We couldn't get it to go live on Instagram for some reason, so we're still working that one out. But it's all the way we all met each other is through the same group, and everybody just seems like-minded to a degree. We're all just here to help each other out.
I loved your story about like how you found your thing. Like you were going to go have dinner with that girl and she stood you up and invited you to like some guy who reads faces. And yeah, that was I didn't know that. It's so funny. This is actually really shameful. I don't take the time to ask people like, how did you get here? What's the story? And then when you hear it, it's always inspiring and heartfelt and love, you know what I mean? It kind of like makes you love this person a little more. And I'm like, I don't know why I don't pause long enough to have asked you that question or asked. I still think Parcaut was manufactured in a lab. I don't know where he came from or what his story was, but I wish we spent more time figuring that out about each other.
Yeah.
Well, some of us do. That's why I run multiple podcasts and do 13 episods a week. So
do you really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you have a problem. We need an intervention. We'll surround you with love.
No, what I need to do is get another VA. Besides,
well, so I don't staff VAs. I staff EAs. There's a big difference, I think.
Executive assistants. I got. Yeah, not virtual.
Smarter.
They're still a virtual assistant.
They're still virtual. Yeah.
No, what I mean is because we have, we talked about it, your event driven, how I'm using a pod for certain things because it's really difficult to have one person be able to do everything. Just like us, we're not able to do everything that we need to do. We have other people for that.
Right.
No, it's nothing to say about that. Just a right, huh, Brian? Nothing else there?
I'm listening to you talk. I didn't get to go to Driven, and I don't have a VA team, so I'm just here to learn, or an EA team. I see. I listened.
Bam. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it. That just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Hey, I sat and listened to you spout off in Costa Rica when you were coming up with your latest design. I was like, that's awesome. You just went out there, grabbed the iPad and talked about the new thing you put together.
My launch.
Birthday.
Yeah.
My incubator. Yeah.
How's that going?
Dude, it's the most fun I've ever had from an entrepreneurial perspective. It's amazing. I feel so bad for these poor people that have paid me money because the way I sold it was the best sales letter ever written. I don't mind saying. The way I sold it was inspired by Jason Fladlin. I basically came out and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think I should do this. I'm definitely not qualified. It's absolutely not worth any money. You're going to waste time, effort, energy. It's going to be frustrating. And if you're still interested, here's the pay link. And a bunch of people, I've got 40 people in my incubator.
Yeah.
And we meet every Friday and all we do is just talk about the opportunities on the horizon. This is the most potent entrepreneurial environment I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't stop starting things. The amount of opportunity that comes to me on a daily basis is overwhelming. And it's actually really sad because it's tempered against, on one hand, I see the 20% that are just like making hay while the sun shines, right? It's like feast. And then on the other hand, I see the 80%. All I see, like I'm in Front Row Dads and I'm in these Facebook groups with, different people in different realms, like SEOs and agencies. And I'm in different masterminds. And I see a bunch of people who are like, hey, just lost my job. Just got laid off. Just closed my company. Just whatever. And it's this really weird, like the two echo chambers don't sound or look anything alike. And I'm trying to figure out how to navigate that. And I'm trying to figure out like which one means, what they mean in terms of, because we're all on the same planet at the end of the day. So where is the prognosticative, influence and wisdom and what should I be doing with this information that I have?
Seems like Navin Goose, what's his name? Navin, my governor, really well.
Oh.
You guys use hands a lot.
Oh yeah.
I was like, where is he
I
going
just
with
came
that?
back from Italy, so I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so here, so back up. So you just said there's so many opportunities that come to you, and
Bro.
that's not bragging. That's just telling the truth, and that's
It's brag.
the
I
biggest
am also
problem.
absolutely bragging. Yeah.
That's also the issue that we all have, that we have to figure out where we're going to focus our time and our energy, and we have to focus it, because we get pulled in many different directions, usually as entrepreneurs, and we have to stop that, because we can't be 100% into multiple things unless we have the right person in place.
Yeah. Well, I like the way that you ended that, Ed. So what I do is I start a business. I dive deep into that business for as short a period of time as is necessary, but as deep as is necessary, right? So there's an X and a Y axis there. And then once we've established some level of success, then I replace myself with somebody better, smarter, wiser, faster, stronger. And then I move on to the next business. And so far, that's been a really effective thesis. It's working. I have a portfolio of 15 businesses. And that's not, when people say that, you're like, oh, you have 15 domain names. No, I have 15 functional businesses that are all to some degree profitable and or functioning. And it's because the only thing I'm truly world-class at is talent acquisition. I've gotten really good at finding and utilizing top talent. And most people don't know how to do that. So I wrote a book. Your audience can have the book. It's absolutely free. There's no Ascension or paywall or any of that garbage. It's called Hire, and it teaches people how to hire top talent, and maybe most importantly, how to integrate top talent in their organization in a way that doesn't break them. Because even if people get their hands on top talent, they usually ruin them within 90 days.
Now, you're talking about 15 businesses, but people don't know where you came from unless they've known you longer. So you start out like, got $1 million loan from a friend? Is that?
All right. So this is how podcasts work. You stay on the topic that the gentleman just finished. Yeah, the thread that he just talked about.
Is that how podcasts work, Ed?
That's how everything works. That's how radio works. That's how it's having a story, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
You don't take them from one place and go talk about butterflies over here. You stay on this little topic.
Oh, no, I look at squirrels. I'm not into butterflies.
My daughter was, when she played soccer, and she was a goalie, so it was that was a bad thing to be in the goal and be looking at butterflies.
My son was like that. He was picking daisies out on that field for sure. Like literally, I have pictures of him literally getting down and picking fire, and I'm like, all right, that's what we're here for.
So I want to stay here, and then you can talk about your story in a little bit, if that's okay with you.
I was born a small child in Calcutta.
Yeah, no, you weren't, but I know your story, and I know also that you were an actor, and a really good actor.
Stop it, Ed. Go on.
Not everybody knows that, but yeah. Anyway,
so
back
we're
to the book,
here.
Hire, and how to do this, because this is something that, and I'm going to get on Brian for a second. He has not hired anybody to help him, and he needs to hire somebody to help him.
Look
at that.
For those of you watching, not listening, I'm showing or listening, not watching. I'm showing my beautiful book cover, which is laminated, so it's very shiny. The book is called Hire. Here's the thesis, and then you tell me what you think. And incidentally, all of this is for free, and it's broken down in a framework that's literally step by step with checklists and templates and all that fun stuff. You can have it at thehirebook.com. Thehirebook.com. It's yours. And I wanted, my life's mission right now is to help as many people in emerging nations find meaningful work. And so you don't have to hire through me. I have a staffing agency, but I have more demand than I have supply. I promise you, if you follow my process, you will find yourself with peak performers. And then there'll be yours to ruin. And the next book I'm going to write is going to be called Delegate, and I'll teach you how to delegate. Here's the thesis.
Thank you, Brian, for that.
Yep.
The Hire book. We are taught by the world at large to treat people as commodities. Entrepreneurs are taught to treat people as commodities. And dare I say, it's everybody. Pull a business book off the shelf from the greats, people that I love, John C. Maxwell and Stephen Covey and Ray Dalio. It doesn't matter. The way that people are referred to within the confines of the pedagogy that is business training is as a commodity. And commodities are interchangeable. They're easily interchangeable, right? So if you have an ear of corn and I have an ear of corn and we swap, neither of us are better or worse off than we were moments ago. The problem is people are not commodities, obviously. And I know that goes without saying, but it doesn't become so obvious when you're in business. And I'll give you the really specific examples. You'll see this on job boards. They say, now hiring graphic designer. We're looking for a traveling nurse. I need a CPA. And I realize categorization is necessary in order to increase the efficiency of our communication, but we take categorization too far, because graphic designer A and graphic designer B are two entirely different human beings. And you know this because if you have a CPA and I have a CPA, let's say, and we swap, it's not like corn, is it? If I lost my CPA right now, my whole financial world would fall apart. It would be devastating. And yet the same person with the same background and the same education and the same experience from the same company, from the same small town, they end up being two entirely different humans. When you treat people like commodities, you nullify the value of the human endeavor completely. We treat people like they're automatons. Every business book says, build a system, find somebody and install them into this system, and then profit. The issue that we're going to run into with that, especially in a post-AI world, is that's nothing there is a computer is something that a computer cannot do, right? A computer can do all those things, especially when robotics catches up to AI. So when you treat a person like a commodity, you're treating a human like an automaton. And interestingly, you get none of the benefits of a true automaton because the human still needs to take bathroom breaks, still needs to sleep, still has emotions. And you get none of the benefits of humanity. People are miracles, dude. People are literal, actual, real miracles. And I mean that. I keep saying literal, and everybody's like, yeah, a miracle can't be literal. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. A miracle is inexplicable. And so, I mean, this is a religious truth. I don't even care if you're a non-religious person. An atheist would have to say, look at these super smart super apes roaming around this floating rock, building shit and sending stuff into space. That's a miracle. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. And then you take that person and you're like, sit here on this assembly line and put this widget and this sprocket there and twist it that way and clock in, clock out. And if you don't do it, you're fired. How can a miracle function in those confines? And yet that's how we're taught to treat people. Here's the interesting thing about the Pareto distribution. This is why we named it Pareto talent. The Pareto distribution is the most important mathematical principle for anybody to understand for business and life. It says, roughly speaking, 20% of your input is responsible for 80% of your output. And it's true in every organic ecosystem. 20% of the criminals do 80% of the crimes. 20% of the cows give 80% of the milk. 20% of your customers give you 80% of your revenue. 20% of the employees do 80% of the work. And we all know that. Everybody knows the 80-20 rule. What people don't realize is it's fractal, which starts to get insane. It gets mind-blowing. So imagine, fractal means true at every level of analysis. Imagine you have 1,000 employees, okay? You have 1,000 employees. And those 1,000 employees produce 1,000 units of work. 1,000 employees. If you were to examine it through the lens of the Pareto distribution, 200 employees do 80% of that work. So 200 employees actually yield 800 units of the work. But because it's fractal, zoom in on those 200. 40 yield 80% of that work. Zoom in on those 40. 8 yield 80% of that. Zoom in on that. What it comes down to is in a 1,000-person organization, one person is responsible for 25% of the output. And I can prove this. This has been true at every business I've ever run. I've built 6 multi-million-dollar companies. I've had 2 successful exits, 1 for 8 figures. I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. We had $100 million in ad spend under management. When I sold that business for 8 figures to a SoftBank-backed MarTech company, I had 80 employees. One person managed 40% of my revenue. His name's John Moran. He's the greatest Google Ads mind in the world. You should have him on your podcast. He's brilliant. One person managed 40% of my revenue. Now, most people look at that and say, oh, no, it's a key man in risk. We have to spread out the risk and diversify. The issue with diversification, we know in real life, is that if you take those clients away from John Moran, you just lose the clients. So what people do, the Pareto distribution is a hierarchical structure where your highest performing assets move to the top of the hierarchy. All hierarchies are shaped like pyramids. Let me say that differently. All functional hierarchies are shaped like pyramids. So your highest performing assets move to the top of the hierarchy. And what's interesting about that hierarchy is the output looks the exact opposite. The output of that hierarchy is reversed. It's like an upside down pyramid. So the higher you go up in the hierarchy, the more the output is magnified. And here's what the Goldman Sachs Ivy League Excel file watching management teams do when they see Pareto distribution. They see existential crisis on a spreadsheet. They say diversify the risk, and they flatten the hierarchy. They ask for, build into their system average. They actually want, they're like, you need to meet, what do we call it? The quota, the status quo, the minimum. That's how we hire people and manage people, is we ask them to do what? To meet the minimum. That's the best case scenario. And then it's like, look, if you do better than the minimum, we'll give you a little bonus, a little pat on the tush and a gold star. And, maybe you get some Christmas cookies. It's insane. The way that we manage people, the way that we hire people, the way that we treat people, the way that we incentivize people is absolute, complete, and total insanity. It's why I'm so unbelievably successful. I'm not smarter than anybody in any room, in any building I've ever been in. I'm so much more successful than I deserve to be. And it's because I learned dude, I've got Thug Life as I log on to StreamYard and it says, what's your title? And I'm like, I don't have a title. I'm going to put Thug Life. And you know, it's funny. And it's also not, I don't have a title. I'm not on the org chart because I learned very early, I don't belong on the org chart. I'm not the smartest person in any one of these endeavors. I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. I've never run a Google campaign myself end to end in my life. And if I'm talking to entrepreneurs, if it's an entrepreneur listening, get the mother F out of your own way. You're not the best. You're not the brightest. You're not the smartest. You're not the best looking. You're not any of those things. And that's okay. You actually don't want to be. Find somebody who is at each level of analysis in your business and just get out of their way. And if you can do that, it's amazing. It's amazing. People will take everything that you have and they'll run with it. 9 out of 10 people are not an entrepreneur. It's an epigenetic truth. Douglas Brackman wrote a whole book about it. It's amazing. 9 out of 10 people are not entrepreneurial. They need jobs. And if you give them the job in the confines that treats them like a miracle, you're gonna experience miracles. Anyway, that got a little preachy. How did I do, fellas?
I just want to know where the church is.
Hallelujah! Can I get an amen?
It's in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna start a religion one day at Parcaut. You'll be my very first convert.
I'm already ordained.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna have cuddle parties, and it's gonna get a little puff daddy, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, well, I became ordained so I could marry my son and daughter-in-law. So
he means
is the officiant.
He means is the officiant.
California. That's where they do it.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
The Life Church or whatever is out of Modesto, and I had no idea they're the ones who ordain everybody.
No, I just mean marrying your daughter and son-in-law. I didn't know if that was
daughter-in-law
and
son.
Yes. All right. Well, congratulations to them.
Thank you. They're doing well. The problem when I have you on, I feel stupid, and it doesn't happen a lot. You're always supposed to be.
Go ahead.
Both. We got.
I do not have mine laminated. It's not that important to me.
I got this. Ready? Minister.
Hey, it's how they send it.
Wrote it on a sticky note. Mine's worth just as much as yours.
Yeah, they're not worth the paper they're written on.
Yeah,
but they work, and you can get stuff done.
Yeah.
All right. So you talked about the talent thing and how we need to get out of our own way. We talk about it all the time. Find the right people, get them to handle the stuff that you're not good at. And that's basically the easiest way to put it down. You haven't always been here, though. And this is
I was a welfare baby
to get to a little bit earlier ago. And then I told him to shut up and sit back in the corner.
Right. Hurt my feelings. I'm fragile.
Yeah, most of the time we're on here arguing anyway. So you started. So I know. Back up. We know a lot of people, and I always say that the people who are on stages are some of the most insecure people that are on stages, and people think someone's like, he's so amazing, he's this, and it's like, okay, they're just like you. They're just on that stage. They have the same feelings you have when you have those insecurities that you feel that, how am I doing? I know you were an actor, which most people don't know, and you can just Google him and find out, unless he's paid down to have it all taken down since he's so wealthy.
I won't take my money. What I wouldn't give to just lock that whole truth away.
Actually, don't, because that's why you're so good on stage.
Yeah. Well, that and the porn addiction, I think.
No, but I mean, it takes a lot.
Thug life, not thug life.
Yeah, thug life.
It
takes a while to be good on stage, and so luckily you were there early on, and some of the stuff you learned was good for you to be on stage with and how to talk.
Yeah, I have the sad, pathetic personality that craves attention. And what's interesting about that attention craving behavior is it puts you in a position to look for the information that would justify you receiving that attention. And so a lot of my learning journey had more to do with me wanting to impress other people than me wanting to learn. And I think, I hope the pendulum is actually, gone the other direction, where now I learn for the sake of it. And then if I can share, I do. But you're absolutely right about hitting the stage. Like there's so many, me and Perry Belcher talk about this all the time. Perry and I own a mastermind together with Jason Fladman. And Perry's like, there's so many ways to make so much more money that are way easier than this. But if you want your ego stroked, dude, a mastermind is it. It's it, it's just the Kasim show for 3 days, a quarter. And I think that's true of, honestly, if I can slander our collective environment, it's true of podcasting, right? It's, I want to be heard. I want a platform. I want to help. I want to share. I want to give. I want to grow, but I want to do it in a way that I'm visible. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I actually think that inclination is generally positive, but can come with the shadow that turns negative, depending on how it's used.
Yes, I'm just curious about everything. And so I want to understand why people think a certain way, why people do certain things. And that's why I do, I used to get in trouble at little parties, be sitting next to my wife, she'd be grabbing my leg, telling me to shut up and stop asking questions. And now she can't do that. So
that would happen to me. And I'd be like, that's not my leg.
Again, back to the tug life.
That's right.
All right. What do you got, Brian?
Well, no, I was just going back to what you were saying a second ago. So with everybody, I was always amazed how many people are introverts, but they want to share information when they get on stage. That was a big thing that really surprised me with a lot of the people that were out there. To Kasim's point, that's what everybody keeps saying is people want community. People want masterminds. People want to get into rooms where they're having conversations instead of just being presented at. And so I'm watching from a third party, and I see a lot of these, bigger stages are going away for smaller masterminds, smaller meetups, things of that nature. So did you cap with the project that you just launched? You said 40 people signed up. Do you have a cap on that? What's your plan for that particular one?
There isn't a plan. I see something on the horizon that scares me. It's actually really troubling, to be honest with you. First of all, this isn't zombie apocalypse. Okay. I believe that AI is the best thing that's ever happened to humanity. I think if you flash forward 100 years from now, it's actually solved all of the major problems we have now. We'll have a whole new host of problems, and absolute poverty drops to zero, supply chain issues, geopolitical problems, disparity in governance, like so many things AI solves for. And I actually don't even think that's optimism speaking. I think that's more or less proving out in real time. We're going to see huge deflationary events. Cost of living is going to go down. Affordable house, like just amazing, amazing, amazing things. 100 years from now, 20 years from now, it's going to hurt. Uber and Lyft are the largest employers in the United States, private employers, second largest to the U.S. government. And Tesla just launched its self-driving program day before yesterday in Austin.
Yeah, the cab.
And dude, it's amazing. And if you've been in a Waymo, that's amazing. Worse than that, or maybe not, AI beats a radiologist 1,001 times out of 1,000. It's not just a specific labor class. It's not like the Steinbeck Dust Bowl where it's just farmers and we don't have to worry about farmers because nobody loves farmers. It's everybody. The entire productive endeavor has been modified in a way that has shifted context away from people. So the question that plagues me is, well, what do we do about that? And so then take that question and put it on a shelf for just a moment. You're going to have all these people that need to know what to do. At the same time, we have the silver tsunami. We have a group of people that are maybe what you would characterize as your most at risk, who have poured everything they have into whatever little business they own, and they do not have an exit strategy. Because if let's say you're a stonemason or a plumber or an arborist, or you own a septic company, your son or daughter did not go to trade school. They went to university because that's the American dream. And they got some big fancy degree because that's what we told them to do. And they want a job with air conditioning and fluorescent lights and a health plan and a title and, conference room and 12 croissants. There's nobody there to be the journeyman carpenter or the plumber. And so these businesses are going to be downregulated from a value perspective to a degree that I actually think is catastrophically damaging to the economy. I also think that they're necessary and integral to our infrastructure. And maybe worst of all, they're the nest egg for, again, what proves out to be one of our most at-risk large populations. So if you put these two things together in your mind, right, you have a bunch of businesses without buyers, you have a bunch of people without something to do. That to me feels like a solution waiting to happen. But it's not a square peg in a square hole. It needs an amount of remediation and intake and due diligence and processing And I think if you can do that, if you can be the one that connects those dots, I think it's extraordinarily profitable. So this isn't an altruistic endeavor. I want to be a billionaire. And then I want to be a trillionaire. And then I want to learn what the number is after a trillion, and I want to go after that. And I'd like to do things that are impactful. I think universal basic income is an a priori prerequisite in the post-AI world. I don't care where you sit politically. It's no longer a political question in my mind. I'm a rabid libertarian that hates other libertarians. So, social programs like that to me have always been met with skepticism. And the question about things like that, UBI, used to be posed around, well, what if people can't work? Like physically cannot work. But now we need to ask, like, what if there's no work? What happens? And so I think UBI becomes, so I think people are going to be fine. I think people are going to be paid to stay at home and watch Netflix. And it's going to be phenomenal for a certain archetype, like artists, filmmakers, musicians. I think they're going to thrive. They've been left behind by this economy. They'll actually be the ones that people that want to do anything for the sake of itself, word workers, right? Entrepreneurs are screwed. And I think that there is something we can do to help this segue. And so I didn't know how to approach this. And so I launched this incubator, and I did this 40-day countdown. It was really cool. I was about to turn 40. I was having this huge midlife crisis. All these things happened. I was stalked by dead birds. It's a long story. And I decided, and I was really afraid of it. So I just decided I'm going to be brave. I'm going to be bold. And I'm going to launch this thing that I want to do that I actually think is going to make a relevant difference in the fabric of society and the world and the timeline of humanity. And it's hard to say things like that, to say like, I want to be big enough to make this impact. That's what I did. I launched this incubator, and I have a bunch of people that believe in me for reasons that I don't think they or I understand. And we're going to go solve this problem. And we're going to buy these little businesses, or we're going to find the buyers for these little businesses. And we're going to do our part in stabilizing this, the substructure of the economy in as much as we're capable of. And I think once we do it once, it becomes easier along every level of niche analysis. So once I buy one electrical company, a small electrician who sells off to me, and I figure out operations and marketing and intake and customer service and, on and on and on and on. And I do the things that I know how to do, which is like integrate AI and do process management, actually turn it into a scalable company. Every subsequent month, I already have the template for. And then I do it again. I do it for plumbers. And then I do it again. I do it for surf shops. And then I do it again, and on and on and on and on. The world that scales has ignored small local businesses since the beginning of the internet because they're non-scalable. Why would anybody focus on that business? And now they're actually kind of the only ones left that are viable. E-com, gone. As a small business, unless you're a manufacturer, you can't play the e-com game because look at who you're playing against. You're not going to win. You lose. SaaS, gone. I can prompt software on a weekend. Are you kidding me? Agency, gone. Info, gone. Like, I think these small local businesses are hyper viable. And I think they've been left to rot. So that's the incubator. We'll see how well it goes. I'll keep you guys posted. If somebody wants to join, they can go to 3xfreedom.com, the number 3, the letter xfreedom.com. Do not join if you think I have a plan. Don't join if you expect a template. Don't join if you think I sound like I know what I'm doing. I am the blind leading the blind in a dark room with no floor. And we're just free falling right now. So, and it's not worth your time, effort, energy. And then if you're still interested, come join because you sound batshit insane. You'll fit right in.
He's so funny. He does that, sends them away. So they come running.
So they come running back. They all come running back. Yeah.
Well,
that's called the takeaway cell, people. That is where you don't really want this.
I think it's called the push away cell. This one.
It's a takeaway. It's where you take it away from them and then they want it more. That was really good there, Kasim. Great job.
Yeah, appreciate you, Parcaut.
Yeah, you're the man. No, it's just you think, we all have our own niche of what we do well, and you have that. You just think about things that none of us think about, and I watch you, I listen to you, and I'm going, wow, he is one of the smartest people I know. And when I'm in that room, I feel dumb, which is how you're supposed to be in that room. You're supposed to be in a room where you're not the smartest person. My problem is, where do you go besides next to Jason to be that person? Because Jay, I was at the mastermind. Thanks for bringing me there. And I will get signed up eventually for that one.
Eventually.
But no, what I mean is I just got to get through July. There's some personal stuff I'm going through. So, which you don't know about. And so once I get
Interchange operation.
Yeah. Sex
Wait,
change.
change back? Because I knew about the first one.
No, I'm dealing with the VA about some stuff. Once I get through that, then I can deal with it. I just can't deal with it right now.
Well, we love you, Ed, and we're here
But
for
I
you.
mean, I've knew about Jason from the LA thing, but man, you guys are just so far out there. Both of you, then add Perry into that mix. It's amazing. So.
I can tell, it's interesting because we've had this conversation. I can speak for all three of us. Perry spends 4 to 6 hours a day learning. 4 to 6 hours a day. Perry likes to watch YouTube videos, and he'll call me. He's such a weirdo. He'll call me from his bathtub, and he'll start describing. He'll be like, "The sun's coming in and glistening off my soapy, sudsy body," and he'll call me from his bathtub because he just sits in his bathtub. And dude, he'll sit there for a couple of hours. He's so weird, but he's just watching YouTube videos, and he watches the most random crap. Like, the most recent thing. I swear to God, right hand to God, the most recent thing he called me about was sourdough starters. He's like, sourdough starters are my next big business. Let me tell you why. And you hear him say that and you're like, this is the dumbest thing I'm ever going to hear. And then he says it and you're like, this is the smartest thing that I've ever heard. Come to find out, guess what has the highest margins of any product sold in the world? Bread. When you look at the cost to take wheat and turn it to flour, there's like 5,000% increase in value. Because when you buy a bag of flour, it's this much. And when you buy you buy 1,000 tons of wheat. And then you take flour and you turn it into bread, and it's another 5,000 increase in margin. And then when you dig deeper, guess who owns all the bread companies in North America? Private equity. All of them. There's 3 private equity companies that own all bread because it's so unbelievably valuable. And the transference of value along the assembly line is massive. And you hear that, and then you're like, oh, I need to get in bread. But I never would have known that were it not for Perry Belcher, because he does that. He sits there and watches YouTube videos for 6 hours, and he learns about like sourdough starter or axe throwing businesses, or you know what I mean? Like he just goes down these crazy rabbit holes. Jason's the same way, but I think more disciplined with his learning. Like Jason kind of, Perry is batch and blast and then chases things. And Jason finds a vein, and then he just drills and 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 drills until he's at the center of the earth and he knows more than God. And then he comes back and he tells all of us. And I think I'm some combination of the two. I love to read. It's therapeutic to me. I'm sure I have 3,000 books in my home. And anytime anybody that I know or respect recommends a book, I buy it. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that I read it. I just buy it so that it can find me. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm reading, it's on my desk. I'm reading Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins, The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior. And what's interesting about it is it's super esoteric. He dives into, like, he goes really far in the direction of like crystal worshiping Sedona hippies in terms of how your mind influences the universe. And I tend to maybe veer in that direction myself. And it's also irrelevant because I learned so much from books like that about business and employment and life. And because it's not, dude, I'm not telling you not to. You can go read From Good to Great, right? But you and every other Yahoo in the world has freaking read From Good to Great. So the value has been mined. And it's been placed more or less on a silver platter. What I'd recommend is if you really want to be unique, if you want to be, I like what Peter Thiel said in his book, 0 to 1. Naval Ravikant talks about this too. He talks about reinventing yourself until you're a category 1. I just stopped doing what other people do. So like, go figure out how it is that you learn, how you explore, how you play, what sandbox you love. And man, I have and this is a religious statement. I think that the thing that inspires awe in you is God-given. I think that I see that with my children. Like my son, man, if he sees a bug, this is my eldest, Sammy, 10. He's 10 years old. He's the sweetest little cherub in the whole world. He's soft, and he's really empathic. He's the exact opposite of my 8-year-old. My 8-year-old's a wrecking ball of demon hellfire bent on death and destruction. My 10-year-old, if he sees a bug, he's on his knees and his knees touch his cheekbones and he's just sitting there and he's like obsessively watching and playing. And I think that awe, that interest is God-given. I think that's God saying, you need to do this. And my 8-year-old he wants a ball in his hand. He wants a soccer ball. And I think that's God saying, you want to do this. So when you get really interested in something, when you feel a pull towards, I don't care what it is, you're like, God, I really want to go see Blue Man Group. Dude, go see fucking Blue Man Group right now. I actually think that that's an invocation. I think God is telling you there's something about percussion or bald blue men. There's something calling to you, and we don't listen to, it's, you know what this really comes to, actually, it come full circle for me, Brian, because we just talked about her. This comes from Christine Marie. Christine, who's one of the best friends I've ever had, and all of us know her. She's brilliant. She has this whole thesis around the concept of knowing. She talks about intuary, which is I think it's Greek. It's the from an etymological perspective, it's the precursor to intuition. And it's like this small, still voice in you that speaks and tells you you're important, and what you focus on and what you deem important is important. And so, and dude, there's things that, like, you know, I'm business partners actually with Dr. Kate Shanahan, who's the mother of the anti-seed oil movement. She wrote 2 New York Times bestsellers, brilliant human. She figured out before anybody that seed oils are not just poisonous, but probably one of the most poisonous things that we're ever consuming. And they make up something like 60% of the American's diet. Like, nobody knows this, but we're being poisoned by seed oils. And one French fry cooked in seed oil is worse than a cigarette. And it's the reason that 60% of Americans have chronic disease, and blah, 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 blah. Okay? This is one woman who just pursued that small voice. It's like, look here, read that, watch this, do this. And so I think that the endeavor isn't necessarily just to learn, right? Just to capture as much information as you possibly can. I think instead it's like, man, and I, you know, the older I get, the more aggressive I get with my languaging. I was a rabid atheist for a long time. And you can substitute whatever word you want. I use the word God. Listen to God. Like, that's God's voice in your head. If you're interested in something, if you're taken with something, if you're inspired by something, if you experience awe, you know, if you listen to a piece of music or watch a TV show, or, you know, if you encounter an author or a thought or an idea or philosophy, and there's something about it that captures you, pursue that. And then it'll lead you to something that leads you to something that leads you to something that leads you to something. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this realm where you actually know more, and not just more, you know things other people don't know. Because has everybody read Good to Great? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But maybe Good to Great led you to this, led you to that, led you to this, led you to that, led you to this. And now this train that you've built where you get to connect what we all learned from Good to Great and what we learned, you know, from subsequent things. Nobody else has made those connections. And you just became that category of one. So I think that might be the great human endeavor. I'll stop there.
What do you have, Brian? You have anything for him?
Well, no, I liked several of the things that we talked about. And I think when you say I buy a book because somebody recommends it and I'll wait till it calls to me, I've read the same book at different times and gotten 2 completely different things out of it. You know, and that's why some people say don't underline in a book, because you're underlining for where you are versus where you're going to be the next time around. But I like writing in my books. So
I do the same thing.
I can grab it and I can easily go back to, okay, I don't read.
My bookmark is a pencil. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just sit there. I mark all over the damn thing, and then I like going back 20 years later, being like, "Oh, I was an idiot," or "Oh, I was actually pretty smart."
So I'm reading a 6-minute X-ray right now by Chase Hughes. Same thing. That's my bookmark because I'm writing inside of it, and I write all over the pages. You know, and if something stands out to me, that's the same way. I
mark all over my phone because I listen.
Well, dude, auditory learning predates reading by 500,000 years. So like that's the other thing that I'd really love to get across. If you're listening to this, I think people shame themselves for how they learn. Perry watches YouTube videos, you know, I read, one's not better than the other. It's just how we intake information. Who gives a shit if you're ebook, if you're whatever, if you like go do the thing that you like to do, because again, going back to my original thesis, that's what God's telling you to do, basically.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. You don't know. people ask us what we want to be when we're a kid, and every week it's something different. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter. But I do think if you pay attention, life puts things in your path, and it's a matter of, do you follow them or not? Like we talked about, had I not gone and after she canceled on dinner, I wouldn't have gotten the skills where I am. We wouldn't be sitting on this call, because if I wasn't a speaker, I wouldn't have met Steve. I wouldn't have met Ed and you at the same time, right? It's just all these things, they fall together, and it's easy to see at the end of your journey all these little dots that were connecting all the time that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
But I do think people get asked that, but there's, depending on who you listen to, who you talk to, there's things called like the force of average, which is sometimes when you're about to leave and level up something tries to knock you back down to an average level. And it's, do you stay there or not? And part of it may be pre-wired. You mentioned before, 9 out of 10 people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs. Maybe that's part of it, but is it that we weren't meant to be, or was it that we weren't taught to be? Because the school was built for employees, right? You need to go work for this company. You're taught to be a good employee and learn knowledge for a job, but we're not really taught how to live life.
What a great, we're not taught how to live life. It's such a profound statement. I remember, this is so embarrassing. I remember the first time I tried to make eggs. Dude, I owned a home by that. I bought my first house when I was 20 years old, and I had a roommate. It was a young man that worked for me that I rented a room to, and he was 10 or 15 years older than me, actually. He had a kid and he was divorced. And I bought eggs, and I thought, dude, this is grown up as hell. I bought my own, you know what I mean? And I had a pan, and I came over, and I'm like, I've got the eggs on the stove, and he comes over and he looks and he's like, dude, you are killing those. I know what I'm doing. And I overcooked the daylights out of those eggs. And I realized in that moment, it was such an inflection point for me, because I was like, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to bank. I don't know, like the bank gave me checkbooks. I don't know how to write a check. I don't know what goes in what field. Like I don't know how to grocery shop. I don't know how to pay my bills. I don't know why the lights are still on. I don't know how to do
algebra.
Yeah, really. It's like exactly right, dude. I know quadratic equations. I memorized the Pythagorean theorem. Yeah. It's devastating. It's so stupid.
No, I remember when I was in college, and my instructor said, "You're going to use this all the time. Could your quadrant?" I'm like, "No, I won't. I'll never use that." Yeah.
Dude, they send my sons home with homework. So the rule at my house is, and maybe I'm a horrible father.
So did you finish how to do eggs? Who taught you how to do eggs? You didn't.
No, I never did. That's the other thing too. Is I have a home helper now, Ed. There's a
back when you were 20, you had to eat at one time. So did you?
I ate out. Those eggs did not work out for me, and I just decided I'm not doing this. It's not worth my time, and I've never learned to cook. I can make eggs now, but I never, I just haven't pursued any of that. I wish I would have. I think that there's something there maybe for me.
Tim Ferriss is the 4-Hour Chef. That's a great book, because he attacks it from that perspective of like, I don't know how to cook. And the book, like the jacket says, like if Julia Child and I forget it was like the Survivor guy who wrote a book together, and you added in Jason Bourne, that would be what this book is about. So I feel like that one's up your alley.
That's so funny. I'll go check. I've read the 4-Hour Body. That was really good. That one went off the rails. You're reading the 4-Hour Body, and it's all about health. And then there's this chapter on like I don't want to get too graphic, but he's assisting his female friend with achieving orgasm, and he gets very like anatomical. And there's all these graphics in the book, and I'm in a public setting, dude. The 4-Hour. Have you read this in the 4-Hour Body? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I've got the other one. Hold on, I'll go grab it.
Brian knows what I'm talking about.
When did you learn to do the coin thing? Because you keep throwing it up there. I keep seeing it.
Oh, dude, you know what's funny is I fidget. I actually have. I'll show you. Oh yeah, there is the 4-Hour.
4-Hour Chef. And hold
on.
This is my fidget tray.
Yeah.
And I just have a bunch of stuff that I fidget with. And the thing is if I don't fidget, I can't talk. And so I used to fidget under the table, but it looked like I was masturbating. And so now I just give myself permission to fidget. I spin pens. I buy knives. That's like my favorite thing to do. So I'll just sit here and I'll spin my coin. I'll spin my knife. I'll spin my pen, and it helps me think. And I do think it annoys some people, but for me, it's just like, this is the thing that helps my brain stay occupied enough on a mundane activity so that I can actually think without shaking. I know I'm mildly autistic, or maybe not mildly, but I learned so late that the label, there's no hope for me, So there's no meds. It's just me fidgeting now.
No, I remember when I first got started on podcasting, a lady was like, "Man, you don't move, you don't do anything." It's like, I'm a duck. You have to look under the table to see my legs. My legs are popping and everything, but everywhere else, that's whatever works for you. The problem is I had a lighter around here, and there's some episodes that you could hear Brian's like, "I can hear your lighter. Close it."
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I drop my coin a lot, and you'll see me like I just go get it too. I wouldn't be a good podcast host. I'm probably not a good podcast guest, but here I am.
You're good. You just go on a little long.
I love the sound of my own voice is the problem.
No,
What we need is like a
I was
buzzer.
waiting for Ed to fix you because normally he's like 30
I'm
seconds.
not going to fix Kasim. There's no way that
There's no fixing me.
No, because from radio, we always tell our guests you have 1 to 3 minutes to answer the question that's asked.
When people tell me that shit, first of all, I just won't do those shows, and then when they say it, I just ignore it.
Yeah,
I'll be on stage, and especially when you do a panel, they're like, "All right, you have 60 seconds." Here's the problem with that: you can't, you need to take the time the answer takes. You know what I mean? Like, when else have we ever done that in life, in any functional endeavor, to where it's time is the determinant of the value in this particular, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sit well with me.
Just does not work for Kasim.
Doesn't work. No, I rebel.
Yes.
You've done significantly better though, because the very first time I saw you at Traffic and Conversion, and you were going slower, and you still talk like the Microman's machine from when I was a kid.
That was Steve Sims, dude. Steve Sims, thank God. Steve Sims was my speaking coach. And he, it's so funny.
Sad because his accent kind of.
Oh, he's got a speech impediment. No, it's not an accent. He's retarded. Yeah,
British.
He's British. He says he's British. I think he's just got a speech impediment.
The bricks fell down on him when he was going up the ladder.
I can't say schedule.
Yeah, that was Australian. Steve beat that into me to slow down because I did. I used to go 1 trillion miles a minute. I just had so much to say in so little time. And then finally Steve was like, "We'll say less, like get smaller points across." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I can do that."
Yeah. It's the same thing we run into when I'm on radio. We have to say this little stuff at the end, and we would try to do it fast because you have hardly any time, and you just have to work it out in the whole show to make sure that you just talk normal all the way through. Kasim, it's been nice having you on. Is there anything else you want to add that we didn't touch on? I mean, there's child rearing. There is more.
I want to ask him a question before we pick a new subject, because I was going to bring it up because it was on topic earlier, and then Ed interrupted me. So
one time.
That's all right. Well, we brought up about people retiring in businesses and everything, but one thing that you left out is there's entire entry-level jobs are being wiped out by AI. So what they said is kids graduating high school and college can't even get entry-level jobs now because the entry-level white-collar jobs have been replaced by AI. So we're not seeing that reflected in unemployment and job loss because they're jobs that were never achieved. And so I do think not only do you have the older people who don't have next-level legacy, but I think you also have that whole I'm graduating and I may have knowledge or I may not have knowledge, but I want to get in and earn my way up. But those entry-level positions aren't there anymore. Yeah. So I do think there's a whole other generation that's being affected in the inverse.
But also, before you answer that, you have coders whose degrees are not worth what liberal arts degrees are worth now.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny? It's not, we always knew so much of higher education was superfluous. Mm-hmm. It's actually devastating to see the things that, if you ever told me software engineering was threatened, you know what I mean? How? Because I've tried to hire software engineers at high levels. I was the fractional CMO for Simplero.com. I worked under Calvin Corelli. We went through Angel List, and we were offering 7-figure salaries in some instances for part-time work. And these people, C-level coders, were turning their nose up at us. And now I saw the data. Perry published this. This was really interesting. I'll get the specifics wrong, but the gist exactly right. Amazon made 2 or 3 million EBITDA for every layoff it made last year. Google made 2 or 3 million. Meta made 2 or 3 million. Microsoft made 10. EBIT, net, bottom line for every layoff. Usually layoffs mean decrease in efficiency. Firing people is making these companies more money. And there's some of the most important people in the economic world 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Microsoft laid off 6,000 2 weeks ago.
I didn't know that, and that doesn't surprise me, dude. There. It's so weird to see Microsoft be relevant again. Like, what a fun twist of fate that is. The young people, and I guess Brian, your mention the thing that you brought up isn't anything that I'd really thought about before, which is funny because I just came from my cousin's graduation. Both of my cousins graduated high school and college respectively. I guess is the question there, what is it they're going to do?
Yeah. So think about it. There's not even entry-level jobs for them to join the workforce. So you brought up business owners, but I think there's two aspects we left off. One is companies are going to be renegotiating with people and say, we're going to take your existing salary if you want to stay. So there's going to be lowered salaries for people who keep their job. But then there's people who can't even get into corporate America or into companies because those entry-level earn your stripes positions aren't there anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I told my cousins, both of them, is go look for what does not scale. Scale is bad. And it's funny because for 20 years we told entrepreneurs, if it doesn't scale, don't do it. And now, if it scales, it means AI can do it. Go look for the things that do not scale.
Did you see the Shopify CEO's post a month ago?
No.
The only way he'll hire someone is you have to show them what AI can't do that you can.
Yeah, go look for that's good. Go look for what AI can't do. I really like that. I don't envy young people in this position. I do think that we have a 3 to 5 year arbitrage play. And so if you learn AI, you can play AI integration, AI penetration, AI permeation, but there's forced obsolescence built into the model. The truth is humanity has to learn how to function when all of our needs are satiated. And hopefully it's Star Trek, right? And not Mad Max. But that's about what's going to happen. We're going to be able to feed, house, clothe, and educate everybody. And then the alarm will go off and we'll wake up and the day will be ours.
And he wakes up in his bed one day and his money's not worth what it was.
Yeah, that's why I buy gold, dude. The dollars. You want to talk about fiat currency at Parcaut? Don't get me started.
Yeah,
talk about the.
Well, we already had 51 minutes. We'll do the next one.
Yeah.
We'll go into that one. Like, how are you predicting for the future economy stuff? But well, that's what Manoj said too. Is he really believes that there will be everybody will get a certain income, but then the question becomes who lives in the big houses, who lives in the small houses, and there's always people who've worked more than one job. So it'll be weird to see how it changes in the future.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to nationalize Netflix. I almost really mean that. I think we're going to pay people to stay home and consume media. And I think the big house, little house problem is going to be solved the same way. What's going to happen is we're going to satiate your base needs. I think there's a massive swing back to middle America. I think people want to be around because, we don't need the consolidation that we have right now in major metros. It doesn't make any sense. And your quality of life increases massively across literally every level of analysis, and cost of living is way cheaper. And with what's coming off from a production perspective, we can build things that are actually really nice, really livable for almost nothing. And so I think a big play is buying fertile land, top of watershed, and just sitting on it. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm shopping for a homestead right now, and I know everybody I know that has money is doing the exact same thing. So I think everybody wants to do something like that. And it'll be an interesting endeavor. I'm actually, to be frank, I'm not worried about us at all. I'm worried about emerging nations. We're fine. We'll always be fine because we hold the world to the tip of our spear. The question though is what happens to, that the kid in Bangladesh or the single mom in the Philippines or, the new grad in Colombia. They don't have the opportunities we have.
I think, but I think with AI, they will.
I hope you're right.
Because look at the opportunities that that are happening now that we didn't have 20 years ago or 30 years
The problem is it doesn't change the geopolitical landscape. Like, you still have the petrodollar, you still have fiat currency, and the petrodollar benefits one country. Two, but I won't get weird about it. So I won't bring up the second country. The petrodollar benefits the United States of America. And dude, I'm related to Thomas Jefferson. I love this country. I'm not going to sit here and pound any, we're ruining the rest of the world drum, but we're ruining the rest of the world. Like, when you hold a gun to somebody's temple and say you have to purchase our currency before you're allowed to purchase the most important economic ingredient to the formula that exists, you know what I mean? Like, that's
you're talking about oil.
Yeah, if you don't have power, you don't have an economy. And you have to buy oil on the dollar still. And every time we go to war, it's because a country doesn't want to buy oil on the dollar. Anything else they tell you is, it's for the propaganda machine. So, I mean, does AI solve all our ills? Yeah, but we still do that thing. We still do that thing we do. And we can't stop. That's the other thing. Because if we stop, then our economy collapses, and we're sure as shit. I'm not going to I live on a $2 million house, dude. I can sit here and spreck in the bushy babble all I want, but the minute you say, hey, Kasim, your house is going to be worth anything, then I'm like, let's go to war, bomb Iran, kill them, right? Like, none of us are willing to make the sacrifices that would be necessary in order for us to stop propagating the situation and environment that's allowed for mass opulence. If you look at my quality of life, I have a higher quality of life than any aristocrat at any time in history pre 1960.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's insane.
Yeah.
Dude, what I'm capable of I have a $10,000,000 net worth. That's not nothing, but I'm not Elon Musk. I can go to any country I want, stay at any hotel I want, eat anything I want. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable what I have. And it doesn't make sense, because if you summarize the world down into a microcosm of 100 people on an island, you would 100% lop my head off, right? If one person ended up with all that shit. And we've put ourselves in that position. And so this got real preachy. I'm so sorry. We have to do a follow-up because I got to hop. But I love you guys, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
We appreciate you being here. The only thing I wanted to add was I listened to a guy yesterday, and he said that the AI, what we're doing with AI is between the United States and China. That's the two big. That is the new war.
Dude, I don't think China's a threat at all. I think we need to look at India. Obviously, need to look at Russia. China has its a whole set of infrastructure problems that will never allow for it to be a viable threat. I think Ray Dalio's wrong, which is funny to say, right? Because he's worth 1,000 times more than I'm worth. So he's obviously a smarter person than I am. I like Peter Zeihan in that mode. I think Zeihan has a lot. I think he just has a better cosmic view. I think Dalio's a little romantic about his formulas. And I love Dalio. I think he's a really, really, really sharp person. But
all right, yeah, we'll cut it there.
All right.
Yeah, you love you guys.
Go. Thanks for having me.
Take care of your kid.
See you, Kasim.
All right. Thanks, Kasim. Thanks for being on the show. All right. All right. Well, that was fun.
That was great.
All right. Well, let's call it. You want to call it a day?
Yeah. You want to take us out since you're doing the double whammy?
No, you take us out. It's ACES53 at the end here.
All right. All right, everybody.
So just so everybody knows, I had him scheduled for Inner Edison, but Brian and I talked. We wanted to have him on ACES53 instead of having him do
so
that.
Good. Yeah.
So this is ACES53, even though we started with the Inner Edison part. So
yeah. So everybody, thank you again for joining us for ACES53. As you know, on Thursdays, we like to bring in a special guest, someone that has just an immense amount of knowledge, not usually this knowledgeable, which I was really impressed with how he delivered everything today. But on Thursdays, that's somebody comes in, special skill or talent, knowledge or information to share with you all. So appreciate you guys being here today. The best way to support Ed and I is just share it with other people, tell your friends about it. And if you have some information you want to share with other people, reach out to Ed and I, and we're happy to add you guys to it as well if it's a good fit. Ed, as always, thank you for being here and organizing this week's guest, right? Because that's normally my job.
I know.
And now I hope I don't have to do your job because I don't have Descript and the other stuff.
All right, everybody, make it a great day. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.